I'm Daniel, this is Ashville, and life as we know it at Ashville is about to change because the business is about to become homeless. To let you know how we got here, I have to bring you back to the very start. Ashville are a group of companies within the construction industry. We offer aggregates, waste management, concrete, plant hire, and construction services. I started the first Ashville company in 2006 and I run them on a day-to-day basis. We are based in the UK, in London, close to Heathrow Airport. And I'm happy to say that year on year, the company has grown organically with the exception of COVID. Despite this, we're still not in a financial position where we can purchase our own site. This is due to space in London being in finite supply and extremely expensive. We've rented, leased, and moved multiple times since 2006. The longest lease we've managed to secure is in this current yard. Now that was 10 years with a 5-year break clause and rent review. Now 5 or 10 years may seem like a long time, but spending large sums of money on infrastructure can often feel like money down the drain because you don't own the site and eventually you're going to have to give it back. There is an element of work that you have to do in order to operate safely and efficiently, but you're always holding back because you never really know where you stand. Our 5-year anniversary rent review and break clause was on the 22nd of December 2023. Now, in the lead up to this, our current landlord had been unsuccessful in a planning application to turn this site into a data center, and they began to show multiple people round, which we found strange. It turns out the site was for sale and there was interest from a number of international real estate investment funds who saw potential in the site as a data center. A data center is basically a large building which houses powerful computers, servers, and telecommunication systems. I am told with planning permission for a data center, this site could be worth as much as £1 billion. It went to sealed bids in August of 2023, which basically means all the offers are put forward confidentially and the current owner can decide which one they want to go with. In September of 2023, this site was sold for £50 million. Months before a rent review, we had a new faceless landlord who we needed to communicate with through emails and letters. We reached out because we wanted to know where we stand, and they told us that they wanted us to stay. But the rent would be tripled. We didn't take it personal because the same rates were quoted to our neighbors in the close by yards. Now they all began to move out, which is all right for them because they have yards elsewhere. We do not have another location we can move to, and we cannot afford for our rent to be tripled. Which business can? I began to search for alternatives. We need a railhead to operate. We need plenty of space. We need planning permission and permitting, which falls in line with our business activities so we can continue to work. When we move, the costs are astronomical. We're talking about cranes, we're talking about haulage, utilities, infrastructure. And then, if I do find somewhere which is further out and therefore cheaper, this raises other problems. We're basically starting again because not all of our staff will be able to move with us and we're moving further away from our clients. We're going to need to spend more resource and more fuel to get to them, meaning we're trimming profit margins. And most landlords, they just don't get our business and they don't want trucks, plant, machinery and construction on their land. I'm trying to think of a solution that takes into account all our requirements while trying to run the business on a daily basis. And I don't want any of our staff to know what's going on because it could spark panic. They think it's the beginning of the end and they start looking for new jobs. The walls are closing in. However, there was a glimmer of hope. For the last 5 years, the Network Rail site behind us has been empty. They rented it to one of the majors who never actually moved in. Now, I knew at some point this site would become available, but I had no idea on timescales. And when it did become available, I have no idea if our application would be successful. By some miracle, I had an email land in my inbox in November of 2023 telling me the site was now available. All Network Rail sites follow the same procedure. You register your interest in advance, and once the site becomes available, Network Rail email you and let you know the availability and timescales around your submission. There needs to be enough time for all parties to submit their proposal and for Network Rail to consider them. Now, your proposal must include your rent offer, your proposed use of the site, and most importantly, the rail traffic you will run through the site. You cannot apply for a Network Rail site just for storage and distribution. You must be using it for rail. So the site was offered on the open market, and each submission would be considered on its own merits. Now, there are no guidelines. You don't know how much rent to offer, and you don't know who you're bidding against. You're completely in the dark. All you can do is compile your best submission and keep your fingers crossed. Not the place you want to be when your business is about to lose its home and you're going to have to shut down. However, while it's Network Rail's goal to increase rail traffic, their primary goal is to protect existing rail traffic and build on this. So as a tried and tested rail operator, we hope this will be taken into account with our submission. I submitted the best proposal I could with as much information as I could possibly provide. But while doing this, I had to ensure that Ashville had the capability to deliver on what I had put on paper. When you're bidding with no guidelines, the unknown has you second guessing yourself. So it was important that our submission was not unrealistic. The decision was going to be made around a week before our deadline, where we would have to hand in our 6 months notice on the current yard no matter what. There were moments when I thought to myself, what does my life look like without my businesses, which are in fact my life's work? The submission period ended, and then I got an email from Network Rail asking for an extension of time so they could fully consider all the bids which were submitted. Now, the decision was going to be made on the 20th of December, 2023, one day before our deadline. On the morning of the 21st of December, 2023, I received an email from Network Rail letting me know that Ashville had been successful in our application for the new yard and heads of terms would be drafted. I submitted our 6-month notice to the then landlord at lunchtime on the 21st of December, and I tried to push forward all the legals with our new landlord. However, being Christmas, all the legal teams had gone home for the festive season already, and I was going in for shoulder surgery on the 22nd of December. Despite only having heads of terms over the Christmas period, we started work on our proposed layouts, clearing the vegetation and investigating the state of the existing track. Now, I did not have the yard 100%, but what else could I do but believe and push forward as best we can? Finally, in February of 2024, we signed the lease and Ashville have a new home for the next 50 years. We had done it! A new home next door, which is the rail sidings, with all the permission that we need to continue growing the business on a 5-acre site. To give you some perspective, the old yard was 3 acres. So we have room to grow. Firstly, we're going to remove the existing redundant track. We're going to reuse the track we can and put in place new track which will have a run around. This means no more shunting in the yard. Trains will enter the site locomotive first, uncouple from the wagons, cross over onto a secondary line, go back out onto the main line and recouple onto the wagons at the other end, pushing them into the site. This means the entire train will sit within our boundary and not obstruct the main network. Our new track also means we'll have capacity to accept 26 wagons. Our current yard can only accept 24. We're going to create new material bays. Heavy plant and machinery will operate in the top section of the yard whenever possible. For train offload and loading, they will need to travel up and down the train line, but this will be limited to instances when the train is in the yard. We need to create our own drainage and infrastructure, as currently the site has none. The entire yard will be concreted from top to bottom, all 5 acres of it, including the tracks. This will mean our road sweeper can access all areas of the yard and can keep the yard clean in the winter and manage dust in the summer. The entrance to the yard will have separated HGV, car and pedestrian access. Installation of a second weighbridge means we will have an in and out, which will increase speed and processing time for our lorries and our customers. This will be governed by a member of the team who will sit in the security hut, which is located at the main gate. If you follow the Ashville weekly shows, you will see I've secured a passenger train carriage. It will be fully refurbished and brought to life. Of course, in Ashville colours, it will be set up as a reception for guests. Cars of Ashville staff will drive in and only be able to access the car park. Cars of guests will be parked in spaces just outside the main yard. The car park for employees will have a bike stand for anyone who wants to cycle to work, and electric car charging stations. Every corner of the yard will be covered in CCTV and it will be fully floodlit. There is a new office area where all offices are fenced in away from any HGV traffic. We will have a designated concrete cube testing office and new men's and women's toilets. There will be an outdoor courtyard seating area where staff can take breaks and make calls. All our existing offices will be refurbished at some point, ensuring they're all watertight, insulated and have their own small kitchens and new lick of paint. There's going to be a shift around where my office will be repurposed. There will be a dedicated server room, freeing up space in each office. The Olympic offices, which I collected a while back, will create my new office, a boardroom, a new office for the video team, and a creative space with podcast area, sound booth and infinity wall for filming content. They will be double stacked and both will have roof terraces on top. The turnstiles you see me collecting over the past year will act as security checkpoints to access areas of the yard. This will be done via face recognition. For instance, if you work in the accounts department, you'll be able to get from the car park to the office area, but you'll not be able to get out into the main yard. Our Director of Operations, Terry, will have full access and be able to go anywhere in the yard. The system is designed to keep people safe from harm, monitor people on site in case of an emergency, and act as a clocking in system to register working hours and attendance. We're going for planning permission for our own 5-bay workshop, where we can maintain our own plant, machinery, and vehicles and offer repair and maintenance service for rail plant and equipment. This is subject to planning, however, it is in the service of maintaining kit used to support rail activities, and it will be reducing HGV traffic as our lorries will no longer need to go to manufacturers for 6 weekly checks. Long-term plans are a batch plant, but again, this is subject to planning permission. The bagging plant will be located close to the material bays with a storage area on the right. The cement silo and water tower we use for the volumetric concrete lorries will be next to it. We'll collect rainwater and storing tanks for sprinklers, truck washing, and the wheel wash. There will be a dedicated truck washing area. I know some of you will say at long last. This will be next to the concrete washout area. To power all of this, we need to upgrade the electrical infrastructure, but we hope to limit our dependency as we're going to have solar panels on offices and buildings such as the workshop. There will be a battery backup, a UPS, and we will finally get to use our 800 kVA generator. In the new yard, we will continue to import primary aggregates by rail, only we're going to increase the numbers significantly, and we're going to put inert waste on the train and send it to tipping facilities. We want to create partnerships with distribution companies and create a West London intermodal hub where containers can be loaded and offloaded onto trains and lorries can work locally to drop off and collect. We basically want to diversify in rail and put whatever we can on trains for long distance journeys and keep the local journeys for HGVs. I want to provide the Ashville team with everything they need to carry out their duties safely and efficiently. Somewhere they can come to work every day and keep their shoes, clothes, personal possessions and vehicles clean. I am aware of the circumstances in the past and I thank them for their service and patience. But currently, the future is spotless, and I intend to keep it that way. Before any work can start, we need to understand the site in its current form, so I've instructed multiple surveys. Firstly, a topographical survey to determine the size and levels of the site. An underground utility investigation to ascertain what is in the ground service-wise. Borehole investigations to let us know ground build-up and water table depths. A BRE 365 test, which lets us know how quickly or slowly water can soak away through the natural ground. Once we have all the information, we can begin to plan the infrastructure needed to facilitate and build the new site. Sometimes when you have a problem, it feels like the odds are against you and the walls are closing in. You need to keep the faith and continue to work hard. Rome was not built in a day, and nor will the new Ashville yard. We need to be out of our existing yard by June of 2024, and due to resource, this yard will not be completely finished. Now we plan to have the offices operational, we need space to offload trains safely, and all HGVs need to enter and leave the site clean and safely. Finally, we have a blank canvas where we can apply everything we've learned up to this point and create a benchmark in construction and rail yards and be the masters of our own destiny. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of the new yard, anything you think that I've missed, and don't worry, all the work in this yard will be broken down into separate videos and I'll share it all with you. A big thank you to everyone involved and especially the teams at Network Rail who have and continue to support our rail journey.